Alright, hey guys, I'm going to show you how to make your own model of the human lungs using simple objects and kind of like craft your own model. I'm just going to kind of videotape my hands doing things so that way you can see what you need to do. So try this if you want at home. You don't have to, but I think it's really cool at least to have like kind of like your own little homemade model of the human lungs. Alright, so this is what our end product is going to look kind of like, right? So we're going to go through that. So you need an empty bottle. This could be a water bottle, soda bottle, whatever, right? You're going to need some rubber bands. You're going to need 2 straws. And you're going to need some balloons. Alright, so pretty simple. So I'm going to take my bottle here. The first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of the label on the front of it, right? So that's not helpful. Your lungs don't say Coca-Cola or whatever bottle you're saying on it. We get rid of those. Excellent. So now we're left with just a plain empty bottle. This is going to be the hardest part, is cutting the bottle in half. Please be careful, all right? It's a little tricky, all right? And plastic can get very like sharp, so you just want to be careful. I'm going to cut this as best as we can in half. There we go. All right, cool. So now I have my bottle in half. If you want to, like, you know, shape it up a little bit. So I have my half bottle here. Excellent. Cool. So now I have my half bottle. That can sit there. Let's get my 2 straws. You're not going to need the whole straws. And then you need 2 balloons. For this, I'm going to use pink, symbolizing our lungs. All right, so I have my 2 straws. My 2 straws are going to be the bronchi that are actually going to go in here, right? So our bottle symbolizes the chest cavity, right? The thoracic cavity. So I don't need, you know, the full length of the straw, probably just about to like right here, right? So that way they can just hook onto the balloon so there's plenty of space, right? Because the balloon's going to sit in here. So depending on how big your balloons are or how big your bottle is, I probably could have cut my bottle just a little bit shorter, right? Because I want my lungs to kind of float a little bit. So I don't need too much of my straws. Oops, sorry. So I'm probably going to just cut them about this length here, right? And I just want to use these small pieces, right? So I have my 2 pieces of straw. I have my 2 balloons that represent lungs, bronchi. So the idea is I want to place my straw inside the balloon, right, like a decent way through. I only want a little bit opening at the top. And how I'm going to close it is I'm going to take this rubber band here, and I'm just going to wrap it several times around the top, right? So I want to make sure that it's pretty tight, so that way air is not super escaping through the sides, that it's only going to be going through our straw, right? So you want to just make sure that it's tight enough, not too tight. You don't want the straw to bend a lot, just so that way it stays, right? So I'm going to do that to both. So again, take my straw. If you get very precise, you can just sit next to your other one, see where I put it. Again, your balloons could be different sizes. That's totally fine. Smaller balloons actually would probably be much easier to do this with, so I highly suggest doing a smaller balloon. These are the only balloons I could find, so we're dealing, right? So pretty good. So now I have my bronchi here, and I have my lungs right here, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of like insert them into the bottle, and I want my straws, to come up near the top, right? Kind of just like that, right? So you want it to kind of sit like that. Here are my 2 lungs in my chest, bronchi, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my last rubber band. I'm just going to rubber band these 2 things together so that they stay together. I also forgot to mention you're going to need some tape. But alright, so chest cavity, 2 lungs, bronchi. Wonderful. Now in order to make sure that everything is stable, and again that, you know, air is only entering and exiting through the correct part of the lungs, we're going to take some tape. You could take any kind of, I suggest masking tape, right? It's a little bit stronger. Maybe yours won't peel like mine is. Maybe obnoxious. It's a little bit stronger than other, like, kind of like normal, like everyday tape. So I would take the tape, and I just want to wrap it around the top. Again, hopefully your tape is a little kinder to you than my tape. Wrapping around the top. Again, you just want to secure everything so that way like nothing's gonna move, and that way when you're like kind of like messing around with the lungs, everything's kind of like nice and tight. Right? Nothing's gonna escape there. Wonderful. Cool. So we got the top figured out. Now the last part we have to do, and I think it's the hardest part, is your diaphragm. Right? So the muscle that sits underneath the chest, which is going to help you breathe, right? So what you need, one more balloon. Now again, if you have small balloons, this is going to be very difficult to do. So this is, you know, worth it for larger balloons. Oh my gosh, guys, these are like actually like put together. That's weird. Okay. So you're going to need a larger balloon for this one. Now, because clearly this is a smaller balloon, that's not going to equal that. What I did was I kind of improvised a little bit, which was totally fine. And I actually ended up cutting this balloon. So I took off most of like the top, cut it like about right there. So that way I can create our diaphragm, the muscle that's down at the bottom. So I just cut right across, right? So now I have, it'll open up for me. Like I said, the hardest part. Now I have kind of like this little pocket, right? I like this. It's very nice and thin, stretchy, right? So it's going to represent our diaphragm. This is the part where you may need some help with somebody else, you know, holding it, you know, especially if you have like a little bit of sharper edges. I'm actually surprised I got that in one go. The other one took me literally 20 minutes to put the bottom on it. So that's interesting. So here's your diaphragm. So the muscle that sits underneath the chest, right, that helps you breathe. Just for safety's sake, I did one last like little kind of go at the tape just around the top of the parts of the diaphragm, so that way it stays as you're tugging on it, right? So I just take it and just put it right at the top, so that way the balloon, or the, you know, our modified balloon, doesn't go anywhere. You're going to be tugging on it, so you just don't want it to be weird. So this is actually really cool. Fun fact, I had to do this as a college project. I took one of my anatomy classes, my teacher was absent, so online she posted a video kind of like this, and we had to make these lungs and we had to show her. So that was pretty interesting. So we had to show her like before and after pics of us making lungs. All right, so here's your model. So here's our bronchi, right, that come down into your lungs in the thoracic cavity. Here is your diaphragm. Now, you know, this is makeshift. We're doing the best with what we got, so it's going to work, you know, as well as it's going to. But the idea is when you inhale, right, your diaphragm is going to come downward like this. So then you can actually see the balloons inside. They start to inflate just a bit. So like if you look, I pull, they get bigger, right? That's what your lungs are doing. So if you keep pulling all the way down, kind of try and increase them as much as possible, right? Oh, right here. So I pull down, the lungs expand. And then if I exhale, your diaphragm goes back up, and you can see that the balloons deflate on the inside. So it's like pushing all the air out. So it's kind of cool. So you can kind of go back and forth a little bit. You can see inhale, increase, exhale, decrease, inhale, exhale, you know, back and forth. Again, it's working the best that it possibly can for our little makeshift model, but it's kind of cool, kind of fun, and it's a great representation of how your lungs are working inside your chest, right? And how they're able to inflate and deflate. And again, different size balloons are going to work a little bit differently. If I had smaller ones, it would be a little bit more of a drastic look. The one I made earlier, you can kind of see they're different colors. This one works a tiny bit better. Ooh, I pulled on my lung. A tiny bit better than my pink ones, but it's okay. So kind of cool, something to definitely try out, see, and now you have a little anatomy model at your house. All right, so I'm going to post a few questions just to kind of talk about lungs and how they work. Try this. Let me know if it works. You know, send me pictures, videos, whatever. All right, guys. Cool.